talk about a move that backfires. The press, they have recently decided to target Paul Bettany. Why? Because he's a friend of a certain pirate. Here's the thing, though. It doesn't go the way that they're expecting. Paul Bettany instead explains exactly what was transpiring. See, the press, they challenge Paul Bettany with message exchanges between JD and him, saying, look at these things. What do you want to say about them? Paul Bettany, he replies saying, 10 years of emails, 70,000 text messages, and this is all you got? Yeah, says something, doesn't it? Now, what's amazing about this, by the way, is the reason this comes up at all is because Paul Bettany, he's giving an interview talking about a brand new movie, and he says, hey, people, they love to misrepresent what you say. They love to try to ruin you, and you know what these places do? They try to do exactly that. They take this, they use it as a bridge, and they go into something they know could be career damaging, but hey, doesn't matter, because you know what? He's not tied to that certain Aquaman starlet. Now, there's more to this, too. Much, much more. And this has been interesting to watch play out over the last few years. I mean, more and more people, they're putting their foot down. Like I said, you and I, we're going to talk about that. Fun times, huh? Fun times indeed. Oh, man. So, hey there to all you fine folks on this fine day. I hope you are doing excellently, and I hope your holidays, they were great, too. I want to wish you Merry Christmas, even though it's belated. I want to wish you a Happy New Year. And as far as this story goes, don't you find this fascinating coming from Shield Media? Because they're not talking about something that came up in the UK 2020. We're talking over a year ago now. Yeah, they're putting out these stories mere days before you see Harry Potter 20th anniversary reunion, and only a few short months before you see Fantastic Beasts 3 coming to theaters April 15th, 2022. A trial going on with that. April 11th is when it starts up. Yeah, the timing of going after Paul Bettany and other moves. This isn't isolated, not by a long shot, by the way, but it shows you Hollywood, they are beyond desperate. They need to change the narrative. And places like The Guardian, they're more than happy to do it. Now, the way that Shield Media accomplishes this stuff, too, I mean, it is beyond absurd. Here you have Paul Bettany. He's giving an interview. Basically, it's a press junket talking about his brand new movie. He's talking about all these anecdotal stories. He's a funny guy. He's trying to have a good time. He's trying to open up that brand. And you know what they do? They ambush him for it. They decide they're going to demand some kind of answer. They're going to demand some kind of accountability. Could you imagine them doing this to a certain nameless person? Of course not. They never would. Now, what's absolutely hilarious in the context of this interview is how all of this, it comes up. Why? Because Paul Bettany, he's talking about misrepresentation in the media. Basically how they'll lie or they'll come up with narratives. And you know what happens? Places like The Guardian, they come up with ones of their own. See, here, he's talking about his directorial debut. It's Shelter, 2014. He says, you know why I did that? It's because I was homeless. I wouldn't have called myself homeless. I was without a home, but I never felt homeless. But still, that all stuck with me, and I wanted to talk about that. He says, though, I didn't want to trade on my own experiences to publicize it. I didn't want to talk about that. And because of that, well, here's how the media spun that. Paul Bettany, he scripts a film about homelessness from his $8 million apartment in New York City. Basically, they try to cancel him there. Now, they carry this over into the conversation they want to have about that certain nameless person. Paul Bettany, he doesn't want to have that too. He can see how they're gearing it up. He knows how that's going to frame. He even says something about it here. Quote, I think that's a really difficult subject to talk about. He doesn't want to mention it. And I think that I just poured fuel on the fire, he says, before retreating into another pause. He's uncomfortable here. They've hijacked him in an interview. He knows exactly what they're doing. Now, when they talk about all of this, too, there's an implied career threat that you can see made manifest. You can notice it right here at the beginning. Quote, "You can expect that those brand-conscious Marvel bosses were thrilled as Bettany hit the headlines again last year when the actor, he was pulled into the JD libel case against the Sun." Now, you know that this was an ambush, too. Something they probably said they wouldn't talk about at the beginning. How do you know that? Well, you can see that spelled out right here in this line where they say, although Bettany's publicist interrupts or offer him a way out, he forges on. You know, you're in an impossible situation here. They bring up something I'm sure they were told not to. If you try to walk away from that, they're just going to run it. They're going to show how mad you were. That's going to prove something. On the other hand, again, pressing on with this, he and his publicist know this is dangerous. It could cost him everything. I mean, this is what they'll do, again, to that certain pirate and that certain pirate's friends, but they will never, ever do that to that certain person that's tied to Aquaman. Now, you can tell from what they're saying here that they want a denouncement, and they're mad because they don't get it. In fact, Paul Bettany, he not only doesn't give them that, he flips the script. He reminds them who the Sun is, how nasty that place is, and beyond that, he reminds them this is 10 years of messages, 70,000 text messages alone. They were turned over by that certain pirate, but hey, they'll never put that in because again, if you start talking about the details, yeah, that defeats the script. They get mad about it too. What he will say on the subject is that having his private messages aired in public, that was a peculiar experience. For Bettany, it shattered his notions of privacy. For others, you notice they add this in here, by the way, for others, the nastiness of the text shattered any preconceptions of the actor. Quote, "It was very strange. It was a strange moment," he says, halting again for what feels like an eternity. "What was strange about it was you suddenly have one of the most scabrous newspapers in London and their lawyers pouring through your text for the last 10 years. Can you imagine what it would be like, honestly, to have a bunch of lawyers go through every one of your emails and texts for the last 10 years? All I can tell you was it was an unpleasant feeling." Now, in closing, I want to say this, and I'd like to ask the Independent a question too at the end, but you see behavior like this a lot of times from aggrieved parties toward their aggressor. You have to do something. You have to take some of that power back, and part of that power, you know, it's talking to friends. It's basically trying to do something in that situation because you feel powerless. I wonder, has the Independent ever gone after another aggrieved party? Did you go after Rose McGowan for making statements about Harvey Weinstein? Of course not. Of course you didn't do that. But in this situation, hey, you're A-okay with that. Why? Because, well, in my opinion, it's because it's a man, it's because of shill Hollywood, and so much more. But anyway, let me know what you think about this. And as always, appreciate the heck out of you. You make this stuff work, so thank you. Appreciate it sincerely. Also, you want to help out the channel, links in the description. Definitely check those out. But you being here, that is the most help of all. So thank you. Appreciate you. Ending here. See you soon.